guys, so today we're going to be talking about posture and hand position. So let's talk about posture first without the flute. As I said before, I'm pretty short, so I understand the pain that is the band chair that just isn't quite right for you. Like I said in another video, I think one thing you can do is request a shorter chair. A lot of, especially at the elementary level, a lot of elementary schools will have different size chairs. You can borrow a smaller chair from one of the third grade or below classrooms if you're using a 5th and 6th grade level classroom for most of your stuff. The next thing is that when you play the flute, your body kind of has to turn this way in order for you to be able to look at the stand. And now this is something really important for those of you if you're planning to be music teachers. It's something that I advocate that every flute player have their own stand. When they play, it's not like a clarinet that goes straight down or a saxophone that's pretty even either, to where it's really easy to turn your body to see both the conductor and the stand if you're sharing. In the case of flute players, it's really difficult if you're turning to look at the stand that's here, because your body is automatically kind of out here than to see the conductor at the center. So if you have the resources to have your own stand, I'd highly encourage that. So the next step then is, how do I avoid like this twisty thing in my back so that I can see the conductor and the stand and not be like hitting the person next to me in the head with my flute? The next thing to do is to, and I don't know why, this blew my mind when my teacher told me this, that you can move your chair 45 degrees to the right and sit even on the chair. I always just turned my body 45 degrees to the right and sat on the corner of the chair, which is the most uncomfortable thing. I don't know why I did it, but there you go. So here, I'll see if I can show you where my legs are. So here's sitting normally, here's turning your body, and then here's turning the whole chair. The next thing to talk about is to make sure that you sit on the chair at a level where you can have both your feet flat on the floor. Now this is once again a height thing and also a size of the chair and length of the chair legs, and also the direction of the chair. I know a lot of band chairs have that lip, which was like the bane of my existence in elementary and junior high, until I figured out a different way to sit in the chair. So they have that lip that just tilts your legs just enough up that like it makes your lap even, that's great, but your feet don't sit flat on the floor. And now the reason why you want them flat and not like tucked up under and up on your toes or crossed is just it feels much more grounded, and it makes it a lot easier to support from your abdomen, like we talked about in the support video. So the next thing we're going to talk about is in posture is sitting up straight. Now a lot of students, when you tell them to sit up straight, they do one of these, where they arch their back and bring their shoulders way back and their chest way up, and they think that's straight. But really you're arching, and it puts weird pressure on your lungs and makes it hard to breathe in the way we talked about in our breathing and support video. So what you really want is, so if that's the arched one, and this is how you normally sit, what you want is your hips tucked in and down, your back flat, your shoulders kind of rolled back up and down. I like to think of my shoulders trying to sink into my back pockets, not pulling them down into them, just letting them sink there. And this creates a nice relaxed place from which you can pick your instrument up and hold it pretty nicely without putting a lot of pressure in your upper back, pressure and strain in your upper back and neck. Okay? So now that we've talked about posture without the instrument, let's talk about what happens when you pick this monster up. Okay? So, for hand position, this is very important because you can do a lot of damage to yourself if you have poor hand position. It makes it really difficult and puts a lot of stress in your hands. First thing, you may, when you practice a lot, feel some pain here. It'll happen. The best thing I can tell you is if you start to feel pain, to take a break, get a drink. If you're practicing and not in band class, you can go walk around, go outside and throw the ball for your dog a little bit. Just relax, and then come back if you feel like if you still have more to practice that day. If it's nearing the end of your practice session, maybe just call it a day and do some stretches with your hands after you're done to just relieve some of that tension. Unfortunately, it happens. It may even look kind of bruised. It's not. It's actually your skin reacting to the metal. It'll make it nice and shiny, and you will eventually get kind of a callus there that'll build up, and it won't hurt anymore. So that little PSA out of the way, we're going to talk about where your hands go. So, like I said, the reason why you get pain there is because the majority of the flute is actually resting on that inside first knuckle. And as far as finger placement goes, your fingers go, oh, it's so shiny. I feel so good about my flute care. So you have this key here. Your finger doesn't go on that key. It goes on this first flat key that doesn't have any ridges or anything in it. And then my keys, obviously we talked about how my keys have holes because it's a more advanced model. This is actually my flute today. So we have, you skip a key, and then your middle finger, we call this finger 2, goes right on that key there. Then you have your third finger, and your pinky should just hover over this key that looks like a banana that's kind of flat and sticks out. And then your thumb, when you first start out, and you'll find some other things later on as you advance to do with it, but when you first start out, you want it to hover or press, depending on what note you're playing, right on this big flat key on the back. So if you weren't to have any fingers down, it'll just balance. Make sure that if you're going to do this, to have this hand kind of there to make sure that you don't drop, or do one of these on your shoulder so that you can feel where it is, and it'll balance right there on that first inside knuckle. Okay, so that's your left hand. Now we're going to do the right hand. So once again, my flute has those holes. Yours won't. So what you're going to do is you're going to look. There's the pancake, or not the pancake key, the banana key, the A flat key there on the end, and then you have the one key, two keys. Some of you will have this little trigger key here. That's a special key that is used for advanced techniques. You don't use it very often, so it's not super imperative to you right now, but it's there. And then that very next key, your first finger of your right hand goes down, then your second, then your third, and then your pinky goes on this first key here. And then your thumb should rest with the meat of your thumb right here. Not the very top, and not like the side or way down weird on it. Will rest right on the back for balance. So far, the two balance points that we have on the flute is that first knuckle on the inside of your left hand, and your thumb, the inside of your thumb on your right hand. That's not a lot of resting place, I know. It's difficult. The next point of balance that you have on the flute is your chin. Now, like we talked about in the embouchure video, this part of the lip plate goes right into that cradle of your chin. So you have rest point 3, rest point 1, rest point 2. So there's really only officially 3 points of balance on your flute. And so that's what kind of makes it difficult, especially if you have shorter arms, when you start off to really get a feel for where your flute should rest. Okay. The fourth unofficial point of rest is this pinky, because it's down for all but one note in the first 2 octaves. The only note it's not down for is low D and middle D for the first few octaves. So it's a really good just extra point of balance. The next thing we want to talk about is for hand placement, you want to make sure that you have like piano hands. You want nice relaxed wrists, and your fingers should be slightly curved. You don't want to be playing like this, because it's really hard on your hands. Later on, if you get a more advanced flute, it's really hard then to move your hands where they need to be in order to cover those tone holes. So you really want to have good arched fingers from the very beginning. Think like Cousin It. Or, no, that's not Cousin It. Thing from the Addams Family. It also makes it easier to balance, and it makes it more easy on your hand. This can create quite a bit of tension. Another thing I see students do a lot is put their thumb clear up here and like rest it against the rods. You don't want to do that, because once again, it creates a lot of weird tension in your hand. It can bend rods and break springs out of place, and it's just not the correct way to hold the flute. It also is I feel like it's weird for balance. Like, it puts my flute like way strange, out of whack. Alright, so now that we've covered hand placement, now we can get to the fun stuff. How do I hold my flute with that back straight posture that I was talking about, and without whacking my stand partner in the head? So the next important thing is the angle of the flute. Now, we already talked about turning your chair to the 45 degrees to the side, like I did earlier. This allows you easy access to the stand and not like banging your person to your right in the back of the head, which I had happened to me many a time, especially in junior high. I don't know if that was on purpose or not. Maybe it was. Maybe they didn't like me. I don't know. Junior high is kind of strange like that. The next thing, though, is the angle this way with the flute. Now, what you see a lot of times is kids will get tired and they'll do this. They'll like drop their right hand way down, and the flute will be at a weird angle against their face. So it's really hard to get that clear sound that we talked about from your embouchure. You want to make sure that if you decide to not have your flute parallel, which is what a lot of teachers will tell you to start with, is just have your flute parallel to the ground. Is you can drop it about, maybe 25 degrees, and tilt your head with it. Make sure that you don't keep your head even, because that, once again, that creates the weird embouchure tone hole placement issue that creates that weird airy sound. So if you're going to drop your flute that like 25 degrees, then you should tilt your head 25 degrees as well, so that your lips are even. One thing that you never want to do, which you will see people do this, is when they tell them to have it parallel, they'll go beyond parallel. So they'll like 25 degrees in the opposite direction, which is just creating all kinds of weird stress and tension in your body that you just don't need when you're playing. You never want to do that. It's either parallel or 25 degrees below that. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions or suggestions of what you want to see me do next, don't be afraid to leave a comment down below. And see you later.